These are the cars that strip more wealth out of the middle class than almost any other single purchase. And right now, millions of people are still signing the paperwork. This video covers luxury cars, why buying one ranks among the worst financial decisions you can make in today's economy, what the real numbers look like when you run them honestly, and what the data reveals about the people who actually do build wealth and what they choose to drive instead. The average new car payment in the United States hit a record $767 per month in the fourth quarter of 2025, and that number covers nothing beyond the loan itself, not insurance, not fuel, not maintenance, not parking. One out of every five people who financed a new vehicle in early 2026 locked in a monthly obligation of $1,000 or more, and when you move into luxury vehicles specifically, those numbers climb well past that. A new Mercedes-Benz S-Class opens at 125 dollar. The Maybach S580 starts at $194,450. A Range Rover typically runs somewhere between $80,000 and $120,000 before a single options package gets added, and none of these are rare collector vehicles. They're the standard entry points for the segment, and that's where the real problem starts. By the end of 2025, total auto debt in the United States reached $1.68 trillion, up 37% from where it sat in 2018, and roughly 86 million Americans, about 1 in 4 adults, are carrying outstanding auto loan or lease debt right now. More troubling than that, 22.9% of all newly financed vehicle purchases in early 2026 came structured on loan terms of 7 years or longer. 7 years, longer than most people spend earning a college degree, to pay for something that begins losing value the moment it leaves the lot. The central problem with calling a luxury car any kind of investment comes down to depreciation, and luxury vehicles depreciate faster than nearly anything else most people will regularly spend money on in their lifetime. Every new vehicle sheds roughly 20% of its value in the first year alone, and over 5 years, the average car falls to somewhere between 40% and 60% of what the buyer originally paid. Luxury cars do worse than that average, and the data from IC Cars makes it concrete. 18 of the top 25 worst depreciating vehicles on the market are luxury models, with several of the brand-specific numbers being genuinely difficult to explain away. The Land Rover Range Rover loses an average of 61.7% of its value over 5 years. That's a dollar loss of $69,856 on a single vehicle. The Maserati Grecale loses 91% of its value over the same period. That same 86.5% loss number shows up for the standard Range Rover depending on trim, and the Maserati Gran Turismo sheds 75% of its value over a decade. What that means in real terms, pay $100,000 for a Maserati Grecale today, and 5 years from now that car may be worth around $9,000. The $91,000 in between didn't go anywhere useful, it disappeared. You didn't purchase a vehicle. You purchased a $91,000 bill with wheels attached. Most people run the wrong math on luxury car ownership. They land on the sticker price, back-calculate a monthly payment, decide they can handle it, and call it a done deal. But that approach accounts for only a portion of what they're actually spending. AAA's 2025 numbers put the average annual cost of owning and operating a new non-luxury vehicle at $11,577 per year, roughly $965 per month. For luxury vehicles, that baseline moves considerably higher. A $120,000 luxury sedan typically loses $60,000 or more to depreciation in the first 5 years, and when insurance, maintenance, taxes, and fuel get layered on top of that, another $40,000 to $60,000 comes out over the same period. The total 5-year cost of owning a $120,000 car can approach the original purchase price, meaning buyers effectively pay for it twice. Luxury car insurance runs 2 to 3 times the cost of insuring a comparable non-luxury vehicle, and the national average for full coverage already sits at $2,638 per year. Premium fuel requirements, specialized servicing, Proprietary parts and dealership-only repairs add thousands more. Even minor work involving the electronics or suspension on a luxury model can run several $1,000s for a single visit. Financing makes every number worse. BMW Financial Services standard rates for qualified buyers start at 5.29%, and buyers with lower credit are sometimes paying above 18% on auto loans, generating roughly $14,000 in interest alone on a $30,000 car financed over 6 years. Scale that to a $100,000 vehicle at elevated rates, and the interest charge alone can exceed the cost of a solid used car. The auto loan crisis has hit levels not seen in decades, and the numbers coming out of 2025 and early 2026 tell a story that isn't getting enough attention. By Q4 of 2025, 5.2% of all outstanding auto debt was at least 90 days past due, according to the New York Federal Reserve, and repossession rates across all age groups jumped 43% between 2022 and 2024. None of that is limited to subprime borrowers or people with weak credit histories. Even prime borrowers, people who qualified for better rates and had solid financial track records going in, are falling behind, and the reason comes back to the math of stretching expensive cars across impossible loan timelines. Industry professionals describe an $80,000 vehicle financed over 84 months as a death trap for customers. You pay more in total interest, you spend the majority of the loan underwater on the vehicle's actual value, and the car depreciates faster than the debt comes down. That's the position millions of buyers have locked themselves into, and it lands harder in a rate environment where 5% to 7% financing replaced the 2% deals that made those numbers briefly feel manageable back in 2021. Here's the piece of information that doesn't fit the story most luxury car buyers have built in their heads. The wealthiest people in this country don't typically drive luxury vehicles, and the research on this is not ambiguous. An Experian automotive study found that 61% of households earning more than $250,000 per year drive non-luxury brands, Toyota, Ford, and Honda, not because those households couldn't afford something else. The money is there. The choice is deliberate. Dave Ramsey's research on millionaire spending behavior put Toyota at #1 on the list of brands most commonly driven by people with a net worth of $1 million or more, with Honda ranking second and Ford ranking third. BMW appeared on the list, but it landed at number 6. Between Hyundai and Acura, nowhere near Lamborghini and Bentley. Sergey Brin and Larry Page, co-founders of Google, drove a Toyota Prius, a car with a starting price around $39,920, two people whose combined fortune runs into the hundreds of billions, in a $40,000 car. The pattern holds across the research consistently. The people who appear wealthy tend to drive luxury vehicles, and the people who actually are wealthy tend to choose practical ones and put the difference to work somewhere it grows. The S&P 500 has delivered an average annual return of roughly 10% across nearly 70 years of historical data, and that number makes the opportunity cost of a luxury car purchase easy to calculate and hard to look away from. Take $100,000, roughly what an entry-level luxury vehicle costs, and put it into a broad index fund instead of a car. At 10% average annual growth, that $100,000 reaches approximately $259,000 in 10 years. At 20 years, it climbs to around $672,000. At 30 years, that original investment crosses $1.7 million. The same $100,000 luxury vehicle, in the meantime, may be worth somewhere between $9,000 and $40,000 by year 5. One personal finance analysis found that the gap between spending $2,000 per year on transportation versus $10,000 per year, with that $8,000 difference invested at 8% annual returns, compounds to nearly $1 million over 30 years. Not from anything complicated, just from the difference between money sitting in a depreciating object versus money sitting in something that grows. The real cost of the luxury car is never the number on the window sticker. It's the wealth that never gets built. Knowing all of this, The question becomes, why do people still do it? And the answer has less to do with finances than most people want to admit. A Lending Tree survey found that 62% of Gen Z Americans feel financial pressure to keep up with their peers, with 51% admitting to overspending specifically to impress other people, and 56% reporting debt that came directly from trying to maintain appearances. That describes a generation spending money it doesn't have to project success it hasn't achieved, and luxury vehicles are the most visible expression of that pattern. Steve Lewitt, CEO of Wealth Financial Group, calls it the ratchet effect. Once someone upgrades their lifestyle to a certain level, walking it back becomes psychologically difficult, even when the finances demand it. The luxury car stops being a choice and becomes a fixed cost, one the buyer has decided they're unwilling to remove because of what removing it would seem to say about them. Research consistently shows that middle-income earners are more likely to drive luxury vehicles than either lower-income or higher-income households. The people with the least margin are often carrying the most expensive cars, not as proof of what they've built, but as a signal of where they intend to go. None of the math on luxury cars is difficult to run. Every new luxury vehicle begins losing value on the drive off the lot and never reverses course, shedding 60%, 80%, even 91% of its purchase price over 5 years depending on the model. Insurance runs 2 to 3 times the cost of a practical vehicle. Maintenance requires dealership-level servicing, and most buyers finance these vehicles at rates that add tens of thousands in interest to a cost that was already high. Meanwhile, $1.68 trillion in auto debt sits on American balance sheets. Repossessions are up 43%. Record numbers of buyers are locked into 7-year loans on cars worth a fraction of what they financed. 61% of households earning $250,000 or more drive Toyotas, Hondas, and Fords, not because they settled, but because they understood something the data confirms over and over. The luxury car is the thing that delays the wealth, not the thing that signals it. The question worth sitting with isn't whether you can handle the monthly payment. It's what that money becomes when it goes somewhere else instead.